Welcome, everybody, to Let's Talk Computer Science, a podcast dedicated to talking about the past, present, and future of computer science. This podcast is made possible by our friends at Rex Academy. Be sure to check out their amazing CS platform, including courses on cybersecurity, app development, and everybody's buzzword, AI. Don't have a teacher? Not a problem. Rex Academy is now providing instructors as part of their platform, whether they be in person or remote. So be sure to check them out at rex.academy. And today I'm excited to have on the show Pamela Whitlock. She's the IT department chair, CTAE lead at something called the Innovation Academy there in Georgia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Do you want Pam or Pamela? What would you prefer?
Pam is just fine.
Okay, Pam. So first, before we get into your backstory, I want to know tell me, Innovation Academy. That could be so many things. So what is that? Where are you working at? I love that. I love the title.
The title's pretty awesome, and we're trying to live up to the name. Innovation Academy is a public high school in the Fulton County Schools District here in the Atlanta area. We are in our second year of having students with us. So we're a STEM magnet school. So students in any of the public high schools in our district can apply to come as a rising freshman. And then it's a lottery system as for the ones that have applied who get in. And so our main focus is on career tech pathways and STEM skills. So we have three career tech pathways that we have as a primary focus. We have engineering, IT, and health sciences. And then we also have a really robust STEM program, lots of science courses, math, social studies, language arts, all the typical high school courses. But we do things like accelerated science, a lot of AP classes. So like I said, we're in our second year. Right now we have students that are in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And then next year we'll have a full roster of 9th through 12th grade students.
That is fun. Growing that program. So you've been there since its inception. Is that right?
I came on board the first year we had students. And some of the really cool things about innovation that set us a little bit apart from other schools. We're a project-based school, and we focus on cross-curricular and design thinking. So, you walk into a classroom, we're trying to connect what we do with real-world applications, even starting as a freshman. We have a course that all freshmen take that combines the introductory skills from IT, engineering, and healthcare. So they're getting a foundation. And they're seeing how those classes integrate and how those skills integrate to solve problems. And that gives them the capability of really getting an experience level with each of the pathways, and then they can decide which one they want to major in while they're here. And we have normal instructional days, Monday through Thursday. But then on Fridays, we move into, it's almost like a little conference every Friday. Two-thirds of the students are home working asynchronously, and then 1/3 comes on campus. So like on IT Friday, I have all of my IT students show up. We have 350 students in the school that have majored in IT, and we have a menu of options, anything from field trips to hands-on projects. We have business partners coming in. We have instructional classes on things like GitHub and basic Python skills, wide range of ability levels. And the students sign up and choose which sessions they want to go to. So they get a lot of choice on the things they're curious in or the things they want to keep working on. And Fridays are just phenomenal. We love them.
That sounds like I'm sitting here while you're talking. I'm like trying to figure out what's the math of my daughter. My daughter's going into high school next year, and I'm like, how far is their commute from Austin to Alpharetta, Georgia?
Might be a little bit.
It's a little bit of a drive. But I love, so a couple things I'll point out there. One is the choice thing is so huge. And I think we say it sometimes, but we don't actually enact it. The fact that you guys are actually saying, yeah, I love that idea of a Friday where you go in and actually see something you're passionate about or a pathway you want to look into or something that's just a little bit different than out of your scope and trying it out. But I also like that you guys have gone all in on the project-based approach, which some people shy away from, I think, because they think that we have to teach kids traditionally this way, teacher-led, instructor-led. To get them to quote unquote pass the scores. But what are you seeing in terms of that area too? Are you getting, it sounds like your focus is on the project and the process. It's not so much about test scores, right? But the kids are still having to take state tests, I would assume.
Right. We're trying to find that magic balance because you're absolutely right. You can't ignore the reality of the education world. And so
Right.
we do offer AP classes, and we want our students to do really well. We are in a learning transition period for the instructors as well. So, our goal is to.
I like that's a very soft way of saying that. It's like, yes, it is a big change, but I like you call it a learning
That's
transition
right.
period.
We try to learn right along with the students. So
Yeah, I
I
love
think
it.
in most classes we're hoping for a minimum of 1 to 2 PBLs per semester. Some folks are doing way more. Some are doing that 1 or 2, but we're learning together, and we're doing. We had a big career day last week for the whole school, and we had social studies teachers and science teachers working together to teach financial literacy and compound interest. And we had mock interviews. And so just really pulling on the talents in the building, I think, is just a really exciting place to be as an instructor. And hopefully
Yes.
that leads to an excitement and a curiosity in the students when they see us learn, enjoying what we're doing as much as they are.
Speaking of excitement and curiosity, I want to ask you about your story, your origin story. Like, what was a moment that was there a moment you can think of, or a light bulb moment or aha moment where you're like, okay, this technology is actually maybe not a bad thing, or maybe it's something, maybe it excites you. Maybe it was you as a student, a program you used, or something you did as a teacher. Was there a moment where you're like, okay, this is pretty good. The STEM thing, maybe not so bad. It's not going away anytime soon. What for you drove you to this field? Because obviously you're passionate about it because you're working in the space and designed a whole school. You're working and designing a whole school around the
So
concept.
I have a really unusual path to where I am. So I started off my college major, and my first job was elementary education, and I taught preschool special needs. I did that for 4 or 5 years, and then I took a small little break from teaching to be a stay at home mom, and that small little break lasted about 18 years because we ended up having 4 children. So, and in the middle of that, my husband, who is a software developer, we decided together to start our own business. And there was one day where he was like, can you help me do a little bit of this web design stuff? And I said, okay, sure. And to my great surprise, and to his great surprise, I really enjoyed it and kind of fell in love with the web design portion
Nice.
of it, and then started doing a little bit of the back end stuff. And that situation made me realize how much I miss being a learner and tackling some
Yeah.
new things, but I miss teaching. And, we had this conversation of how to combine those two things. And so I went back to school in my 40s and got the credentials to teach high school and got certified to teach computer science. And that started it. So I think having that moment as an adult that I missed learning, and that the the happiness and the success you feel when your program works was just addicting, and I loved it. So one of the things that I in my classes that I talk about all the time is, it's not how hard the project is, it's how do you react when you hit that hard challenge, and how do you keep going,
Yeah.
because the students every year are coming to us with this mindset of, if it's not easy and I can't do it right the first time, I'm not good at it and I shouldn't be in this class. And that is so far from the reality. So if I can get them to stick with it and to have that success, then they're hooked, and they love it, and they like that feeling of getting something that they have built to actually do what they wanted it to do. And that's kind of unlike what they get in the traditional classroom. So keeps me excited too.
Right. It's interesting because I wrote a book recently called Ready Set Fail that is basically around the concept of getting kids to fail and mess up and struggle and actually get excited about struggle, which is exactly what you're talking about there. It's almost like, okay, this is a struggle.
Right.
Yes, great. We're gonna get to overcome something. But it's interesting. So your kids are coming in at ninth grade, so they've had, for I guess for most of them, have probably had some sort of traditional schooling, K to
Right.
eight experience, which is as we know is more of about compliance and conformity and making sure you did check these boxes and do these things, versus a project based innovative concept. So what are some of the early struggles maybe for those ninth graders or 10th graders coming in? They're like, wow, this is not like regular school. Like, is it just the idea that maybe this work is going to be different, or is it the schedule is a little more flexible, the choice is so much more flexible? Do you see some struggles with some of those
I think
students
we
early
see
on?
all of that. We want them to become independent learners and be self-directed whenever possible. And then you take a ninth grader coming into a big three-story school where there's flexible learning spaces. That's a lot of responsibility. So we've realized that we have to scaffold our students into that, to allow the opportunities to happen in a controlled way, so to speak. I mean, then it earn
Yeah.
privileges as they, have that responsibility. So we see that. But then from a classroom standpoint, I think one of the things in my computer science classes that I see is there are a lot of students when they encounter something that's challenging and they don't know, they just want me to give them the answer. And so when I come
Yes.
back to them with a question to try to facilitate, some of them get really frustrated, and you can see them want to just give up or get angry, um, because they feel like I'm not helping them. And so it's a retraining of helping is not always giving you the answer. Helping you is getting you to think and to try something even if it doesn't work. And that's a process. It takes a while. But
That's when they get the most frustrated, right? They look at you and like, no, just tell
right.
me, like, is this right or wrong? And the best response is like, what do you think? Is it right
That's
or
right.
wrong? Like, no,
Right.
no. It's interesting. So you almost have to unteach them some of the things that they foundationally have been doing through traditional school, coming in and then saying, okay, letting them recalibrate. Of course, kids at that age, most of them are pretty good and pretty nimble at that. I'm sure some have struggled with that. I'm curious now, when you have new things entered in now in a school like yours, if something like AI, which of course is blowing up everywhere, just drops, and we're not talking AI
Right.
has been around for a while. I'm talking more about the generative AI like ChatGPT and the and all the in Bard and all the other like the AI design art projects that are out there. Um, do your kids look at it as as like an opportunity versus like where or the teachers even and the staff, or is it still like, okay, we got to look at this through the lens of what do we need to control and what do we not need to control, or is it maybe this is part of their future too, so they need to tie it into some project they're working on? How did you guys handle, or how are you handling like the new, like, again, this is just in the last few
Right.
months, so I'm going to bring Chat GPT as the main one, but
Um,
obviously there's others out
we've
there.
we've had mixed reactions. I think the initial reaction from teachers has been, oh my gosh, this is another way that students can, find a way for somebody else to do their work for them. And then we've had students that are, really excited about it and are just wanting to play around with it and see what the power of it is. We did on one of those Fridays that I was telling you about, we had a couple of sessions on AI. And so we kind of dug into the ethics of it and, how can you use it with a positive impact? What are the potential harmful impacts of it? And just started really doing some analysis of it. And I think just having that conversation has helped not only the students, but the teachers as well, not just react to the situation, but to look at it as a tool and how can we use that, to make the instruction deeper and more engaging. But it's changing every day. Um, we
Yeah,
Right, right. So
always
it's a
something new
matter
out
of,
there.
how do you keep up with that and how do you utilize it? Because that's what they're going to do when they go off to college or they get a job. These tools are available to them. Um, so how do you use it responsibly?
Yeah, I love that you at least you're having the conversation and you're asking the kids to be a part of that conversation versus the
Right,
let's just turn it off and not talk about it. Because the reality is, like you say, where they're going, where they're headed, our future, it's going to have some of this in it. I've loved and enjoyed kind of going down rabbit holes trying to get it
right,
to do certain things and write certain things. But um, I feel like of all the schools, you guys are set up for that kind of idea of like, let's really think about this deeply and then talk about what are the implications of its use. And then you have the kids kind of help with that conversation. So I think that in all is going to help them. You also described kind of like the way the building works and like those projects. That to me sounds more like real work. I mean, I think that's what the real job is going to look like. It's going to be working with partners, collaborating with teams, maybe physically or maybe across the globe to get work done. Versus what we see again back in a traditional classroom where it's like you're going to do your worksheet and then turn it in. And I hate to always call it the worksheets. I actually have a shirt that says straight out of
That's
worksheets on it
awesome.
right now. So it's like I'm done. It's a thing for me. I've waged a war against them. So um, one last question, and then I want to ask a little bit more about like where we can find out more about
Okay.
you and the work of the Innovation Academy. But the last question I have is, this is still fairly new. I mean, you don't have seniors yet. What do you think? What's kind of like your projected hope for these students as they go out into the world? So I know college and career readiness. I have
Right.
mixed feelings about that phrase. I mean, yes, we want them to be ready for all that, but it's really about life success to me. What's your hope for kind of those kids as they move on? Where do you see them kind of trending as seniors come in next year, and then going off to college after that? What is the idea and kind of the vision of
So I
the
think,
Innovation Academy for them?
the overarching goal for that is that we have students that come out of our school with the confidence, um, and the skills that they need to pursue whatever path it is. There's a lot of IT pathways now that they could jump into without a college degree, and we have an overwhelming majority of our students have plans to go to college. So um, I think with especially in the IT world, it isn't necessarily the exact technical skill, but the capability of analyzing a problem and figuring out what skills you need to solve it, and then being able to on your own go find the resources to learn that skill. And that's totally different than education was 30 years ago. But IT
Yes.
changes so frequently that learning the languages are a good starting point, but learning how to use different things to solve a problem you encounter is the more critical skill. And as we've met with our business partners, because we work with our local industries a lot, we're right in the middle of a very highly technological area around here. So we have a lot of support from our community. One of the things that we keep
Nice.
hearing is the ability for students to communicate efficiently, whether that's in person, whether it's through written communication, but to be able to, articulate a problem, to advocate for themselves, um, to ask for help when they do need the help. Those are some of those skills that's going to serve them well, whether they go to college or go into an internship or a job or anything like that. So, um, to the quick answer is we want them to be confident and successful. But for me as an IT teacher, it's that ability to be that lifelong learner and to take responsibility for identifying what you need to know and then going for it.
And I think you mentioned it at the very beginning, the outset of this. Like, you can't have that ability without some sort of struggle that you have to overcome. You have to have something that's a challenge that faces you to get you to ask for help, as you said, or to connect with people that maybe help you with the answers, or working as a team to creatively think about how to solve those problems. So I appreciate you sharing that, and let us know a little bit more, what our listeners know. Where can we learn more about you, the work you're doing, the Innovation Academy? Where can
So
we
the
go for that?
school
And we can add it to the
website
show notes.
is fultonschools.org/innovation academy. Um, and then for me personally,
Okay.
I'm really active on Twitter. It's Pam Whitlock one. Um, Probably, and then if you go to the school website, you can find my email address there. I'm always open for conversations. Just find me.
This is awesome. I love, again, if it was a little bit closer, I'd be
You're
driving there
welcome to
next year with
visit
my
whenever you
daughter
would like
every day.
to.
Um, okay, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you, Pam, for being a part of the Let's Talk Computer Science podcast, and thanks again to our friends at Rex Academy for making this podcast possible. Be sure to check out their platform at rex.academy. We all know that technology will be a part of our future, and as educators and leaders, it's our role to make sure all of our students have an opportunity in that future as well. This is Carl Hooker, signing off.